Okay.
So, welcome to everybody here, and however many people are online that Chuk is keeping an eye on. We're going to start talking about really gearing up for this year now. A few things are going, a lot more things still need to get going, but most of them, the frameworks are already in place, and we'll be able to get them started pretty quickly. I'll go through the updates, which you can just read along with me on the agenda if you like. We did the promo party at FC. That worked out pretty well. I think it was pretty much on par with prior years. It seemed like there was maybe a little bit less traffic on the party floor, but I think we didn't have a lot of other boisterous parties near us this year, so I think even though we were in the same location, we may have not gotten quite as much traffic as we otherwise would have. But that's okay. The room was still packed the entire weekend, or the entire evening of the party, and we still
Until the end.
gave out plenty of stuff. The ad badges that we usually do, Pony finished assembling those on the way down. And how many 100 count bags of clips did you go through? Did you go through 6?
Yeah, it was 600 plus.
It was over 600 badges.
So essentially, we had 600 plus people walking around with advertisements, with our advertisements on them.
Mm-hmm. And I don't think we had any trouble getting people to take those. They pretty much the moment we put them out, people started picking them up. I'm continually surprised at how effective those little things are, giving people free badges to wear. Like, it costs more money than a flyer, but it sure seems to be a hell of a lot more effective. So, registration's open. When I wrote this agenda yesterday, we had 609 registered. We now have like 630. And I don't see any reason why we won't continue to hit the same estimates of registration we've had before. Some chunk of that 600, about 300 of that is either volunteers from last year who got a free badge for this year, or people who won the patron sponsor drawing, or people who just didn't show up and we rolled their registration over for a year. So we always start every year, even the minute we open registration, there's already like 300 people registered just because of that. But I'm still confident that we're going to hit our goal of registration, but it's kind of early to make any predictions right now. The registrations tend to flood in right before we increase the price, which this year is March 5th, and then again right before the deadline, which this year is May 1st for the pre-reg deadline. I got a volunteer application module put into the reg system. It's simple and crude, but it does the job. You can check a box now and provide some basic information for HR, for our HR department, which is currently the two of these guys, Pony and Clarence, but will soon be just Clarence, I believe.
I do want to add to this, when, just hitting the volunteer button is not the beginning, because we do have to figure out if you're a real person.
Right.
So, we would like to somewhat talk to you and
right.
see like that. I mean, even if it's just one email, as long as we know, we have to make the difference between people who actually accidentally hit it and people who truly do want to volunteer. So, talk to us, tell us whatever we need to ask or something, or tell us whatever you want to know. But we do want to know you are true human furries things. Yeah. So keep an eye out for the HR BLFC, which I think we'll just try to keep it as that email. But did they get an automatic email back from it?
I don't know. I'll make note of that.
Okay. So the best thing you can do is, because one, we've got to figure out if you're a real person, and then two, we got to figure out who to give you to, and that means that you're going to have to make sure our emails don't go into the garbage. So definitely add that account when you get it, so that you can communicate with us, because it's really tough when somebody doesn't respond back. I think although I may find you on Telegram. I've done that before. Most people aren't too angry if I do that.
That form actually asks for their Telegram handle now, too.
Oh, does it?
Yes.
Okay.
And their
That's great.
Twitter handle. So it asks for other forms of contact.
Right. And I mean, we're not going to hit you up for anything other than like, hey, you hit the volunteer button. Like, did you still want to do reg? Like, you did want to do reg? Like, you're not talking to reg? It's any questions of like, if there's no communication going on, we're the ones that have to be the grease to make the communication go.
So those emails will all come from hr@goblfc.org.
Right. And for me too, but really, I'm going to try to keep it all HR, go BLFC.
Don't tap on the table.
Oh, shit. And then if any of you have dealt with me before, you can still ask me any sort of HR questions as well, because we're going to be trying to do this together, but I know it pretty well, and Clarence is going to get to know it better.
Cool. Sounds good. And you got anything you want to ask or anything you want to add right now? All right. Everybody who wants to be staff, you have to apply and be approved and be set up by May 1st. That is when we're going to start printing staff badges and start getting everybody fully locked down as quote-unquote staff. Staff is defined as anybody who an exec or a lead knows well enough to know that they're going to do what they say they're going to do. So most everybody in this room, except for a couple of strangers I haven't met yet, like Longley as an example. But I think basically, yeah, every other single person in this room are people that I know well enough to know that, like, you'll do what we ask you to do, and you're not going to be a flake. And then the rest of those people just need to prove themselves for a year that they're not a flake, and then from that point forward, they'll generally be considered staff. There may come a time in the future when we have to start putting an upper cap on staff, at which point we'll start having like the leads, execs, seconds, etc. Down the totem pole will be staff, and then maybe some of the like very early staff members that aren't a lead of any kind might get bumped down to volunteer someday, but I don't think that's going to happen this year. I've made enough space for 150 staff members, and I don't think there's even 150 people that I know of off the top of my head that meet that trust criteria to begin with. So I don't see a problem with that this year, but could happen in the future. And the staff volunteer divide and the definition is always in flux, and we keep trying to fine tune it. But for now, that's the definition, is that and the we trust you, and that if you need to be called in to do more, you will come in and do more, instead of saying, no, I did my hours, I want to go do my whatever, and saying, no, that's it. If you want to be able to just say, no, that's it, I'm done, then that's fine. We just want you to be a volunteer instead of staff.
Because we're providing pretty damn good perks this year.
Right, so part of it open for 2 weeks. So it's only been open as long as the reg system has been. So we've already got 90 applications in there, and a good chunk of those are people I already know are going to be staff. So I think we're doing good. We got plenty of people to play with, and I think...
Well, and plus, if anybody's on the fence, okay, one of the main questions I hear that makes me want to tear my hair out is, so I was talking about somebody volunteering, and they said, oh, I want to enjoy the con, and I was like, how many hours do you actually think that means when I ask you to volunteer? And they said the entire con. Yes, it was.
Oh, was it?
There's no like, oh, please, whatever, I mean, like, just know that if you only want to work 6, then we will do our best, and like working for cons,
right.
And who want to be a part of community and meet people and be a part of this con, we're going to, I guess, celebrate you by giving you really good perks. But let me just be very clear. If you want to work 6, just work 6.
Right.
It's as simple as that. And it's no like just, oh, darn it. It's more just like, thank you. That's just it. Don't think we're gonna make you work 4 16-hour days. That's the shit that makes me go insane.
And you're by no means the only person who's felt that way. He gets this over and over and over again. of people thinking that for some reason if they volunteer, they just are literally going to be stuck at a desk all day long every day and won't enjoy the con at all. That's exactly not what we want to have happen. So I'm kind of an exception to that, but I run around and just find stuff to do. I don't, you'll usually see me doing something during the con. It's not usually because I have to, it's because I'm just going and finding something productive to do, because I'm evidently a workaholic. So, anyway, moving on. The another part 2 of this year's story has been posted. Part 1 is there as well. Grayson, if you want to play around with that and find a better way to present that, you're welcome to. It's a little hackneyed right now. It's literally just the story link goes to the first chapter, and then there's a simple text link at the top that says go to chapter 2. But the content is all there. So you can play around with making that pretty to your heart's content. As soon as we have them.
Well, we have some. I mean,
Yeah.
they're not relevant to the story right now, but we have
Yeah,
quite a
since
few.
those pages don't even have a header image at all, they look better with something rather than nothing.
Yeah, we have some art I know done. I know we're getting
They
art
are
done.
posted on River.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
but
you're in River already.
We're getting art specifically for these, but that I've yet to see them. So
So is there actually a reference to that? Do we have a ref sheet to really go off the story?
not yet.
So I think there's a style guide in progress, right?
Yeah.
Okay. That's what you're waiting for, is a style
Yeah, I'm
guide.
still looking for that. I'm still on that.
Yeah, when the style guide is done, you'll be able to go hog wild and do whatever. And so will every other artist. I think we've picked all the swag, haven't we? Or at least we have an idea for swag for every level and completes every level.
Not that I know of.
Because there's the backpack for the top level
Mhm.
that we're pretty happy with. And then I think the middle level is going to be a t-shirt, which is very typical, but then we were going to do the comic book for middle level. I think that's it.
I just skipped. I just want to stay away from clothes.
So,
That's all right. I didn't know we made a decision on that.
Well, we still have the con T-shirt too, of course.
No, I don't. I don't.
You don't want to fold 1,000 shirts?
I'm so done with clothes.
this time around, I don't think it's going to be simple enough that we can probably just leave the boxes of shirts directly as they come from the store, or directly as they come from the shop, instead of having to sit down and fold and kit everything. Unless you want to inspect them, but they do that at the shop, so I don't think it's needed. That's one of the few instances where we might be better off leaving it up to at-con volunteers, because we have so many more of them available than the few number of people we have locally. Usually it's good to do, this is what I've learned over the years, usually it's good to try and do stuff early. Even if it takes longer to do it early, it's generally better to do it before the con than it is to do it at the con. There's a couple things that have started to become an exception to that, because we have so many more hands available to us at the con than we do before the con, that some things that are very easy to do and very easy to split up into lots of people sometimes are actually better off done at the con right then and there. And doing things like folding t-shirts might well end up becoming one of those sort of things.
Wasn't it actually suggested if we have enough volunteers, that we take some of the volunteers and have them do little oddities, like little odd jobs and replace people?
That's going to be his decision to make. That's going to be Clarence figuring that out as we go. Like figuring out who's short people, or you just have an excess of volunteers available that are sitting there bored,
Right.
going and finding something for them to do. Even if it's as simple as just walk the con space and pick up trash. If you have time to lean, you have time to clean. Bunny's not here yet, but Woofy and I are talking about altering our badge making system and doing something more like what FC does, which seems like it should be a lot simpler and quite a bit faster. So I think Sitka really likes this idea, and I think you do too.
Absolutely.
But I have a feeling there's probably going to be one or two pitfalls that we're not realizing, and a little bit of testing is going to be needed, a little stress testing.
This way.
How fast can we make 200 badges?
Well, Will the pitfall be as much as smoke billowing from a laminator?
No.
That's good.
I highly agree with that. It's gonna be a good.
Yeah.
That's the art you chose, dude.
It does mean that we may have to abandon the prior benefit of being guaranteed to pick your badge art if you pre-reg. We may still be able to offer selection of badge art, but it might be just live in the order that people pick up their reg. And then when one art is gone, it's gone, and the rest of the art is still available. But you just get here earlier if you want the one you want. Hi, Kaliki. Do we have any chairs left? We have one.
I hope he likes an elbow.
Ass.
Yeah, that could be the thing. I mean, depending on how many badges we're gonna print, if they're printed in thousands or whatever, we can just have it, and it's like there, you can just go.
Yeah, just like
okay,
1,000
these
of
are the
each
badge
artwork
arts.
or something.
Which ones do you want?
Right.
Okay, put the label on.
And then we have a sad one left, the one that like nobody likes.
Well, then we know which people showed up to the con late. That is generally how it ends up going at other cons where they do like Rainforest, for example, where they'll give you a pouch and then you can pick an art insert to shove in the pouch.
Yep.
Usually the most popular art insert disappears the fastest and goes first.
What's gonna be. You
And
just have to have good art.
right.
But we do. So there.
Great idea.
So, yeah, the big disadvantage there is that we used to tell people, like, as long as you pre-reg, since we're going to be printing your badge since we're going to be printing your badge ahead, we can have any amount of whatever art for pre-reg. I might still be able to do that, depending on how fast we get these pre-printed plastic cards.
Yeah.
I could still use the numbers from reg to say, okay, I know how much of each, and I end up making an unbalanced order instead of
Yeah,
1,000 of each. I end
2,000
up
of
with
one and- yeah.
2,000 of the really popular one and 500 of the not so popular one to make sure there's enough to cover everyone's pre-reg choices. And then we just hope they don't run out, which they probably won't until Saturday anyway.
Just keep the choices to a minimum, not 8 or 10, more like 4.
But people like having all the choices.
All they want to do is go to the dance and get in the door and go to the dealer's day.
Now,
They really
that-
don't care too much.
That said, I know that the reason you want less art is to make it easier for the checkers to check them. There's still going to be, regardless of art, we're going to put like a big BLFC 2017 or something like that in the corner. Something that's
Different than the last
identical
4
across
years?
all, that is easy to identify.
Different than the last 4 years?
Yes.
Which are identical?
Right, but there will be one thing that is on top of the art or in the corner or something that is
But I'm
large
just
enough to
saying,
identify from afar and,
If you have limited artwork, as in 4 or 5 choices, your pre-reg you can give everybody what they want. But if you have 8 or 10, it's hard to know which ones you need to print out.
We've scaled back since 2 years
Last year?
ago. No, 2 years ago.
Well, 2 years ago was special.
We had 40.
They all look, they all look the same anyway.
no, the art 2 years ago, there were 73 choices.
It was just part of what made that con so good.
Yeah, but I think every time you scaled it up, you did it because you wanted to, because you were having fun with it.
Stop pointing out the truth.
On that note, what is the drawback to having the pre-regged, say for instance, I go pre-reg, get the art that I want selected, why can't that be put as part of like the packet that you would put together for my pre-reg and printed?
It has to do with the way that I want to not have to have a stack of badges in a box. I would rather have, what we're talking about doing is having sheets like this of basically mailing labels and then badge stock that does not have the dynamic information on it. And now everything is in a binder that can't fall out of order and can't get scrambled. Whereas the stacks of envelopes we had in the boxes last year once you started taking some stuff out of the box, unless you found some dunnage to fill it up, stuff started falling and slipping and getting out of order and getting scrambled.
Right.
So,
So, wouldn't it be just, like, you just make sure that you have the artwork that everybody who's pre-registered has.
right, just make sure I have enough quantity of
Quantity
each.
for them, and then just.
Right, that was what I was talking about earlier, where I said I might have to make an unbalanced order. And that would solve that problem for the most part, and still let people, still honor 90% plus of people's selection, of people's pre-con selection. Might even be able to note it on the badge somehow, of like which art they picked. Because they probably won't remember what they picked in the reg system. All right, moving on. I have made a whole bunch of Google Docs folders. I've made a folder for every department, and I've made another folder that's publicly shared that has an instruction document for every department. Each department lead should be connected to, I haven't gotten to every department lead yet, but most of them I have. You should find, if you look in Google Docs, you should see that you have a folder that's been shared with you that you can use for file storage for anything relevant to your department. That folder is private, it's yours. Nobody else can see it unless you specifically share stuff out from it. And then there's an instruction document you should have that you can edit and nobody else can, except me. And that is publicly shared, anybody can read it. And the point of that is that we have the folder of all the instruction documents. We'll have a link to that will give to all volunteers, all staff. So if somebody needs to jump in and do another job, they can quickly go find the instruction document for that job and say, okay, that's how I do it. Got it. And then they can start working. So leads, the more instructions you can think of to write, the better. And the more stuff you can write down in your instruction document, as long as it's not private information. Don't be posting like, the password to the Twitter account in there or anything like that. Other than that, post whatever is relevant that isn't private information. And yeah, that's it for that. I'm also working on drawing up an org chart so I can make sure I have gone through all of those departments and all of those leads, because I'm sure I missed some when going through it the first time. And that org chart will also be in the instruction document folder, so that anybody can, if they're trying to figure out who owns a department, they can find the name of the lead and start getting in touch with people. This is more relevant to myself and Woofy, but working on getting a radio license for the con so that we can stop having to borrow and rent radios from others. We borrowed radios from SnafuCon last year. That worked okay, except that the person who was supposed to supply the radios to us, he came through eventually, but like his dad died literally the day before the con. And that is the kind of stuff that happens, and why the con should own these things instead of trying to depend on others for loans and borrows and whatever. And so he, while still grieving, basically had to come help us. And he did, to his credit, but I felt bad that he even had to do that. And if the con had just had their own equipment, that wouldn't have been a concern.
Above and beyond that guy.
Right. No, he's a great guy. But like that's exactly the kind of stuff I want to avoid. And owning our own radios means, at least, it's kind of bad that it's me and the reg lead that know how to make them work, but we can probably get a couple other people kind of figured out. You think you might have enough technical knowledge to do that? Does anybody else, do you know much about radio specifically?
I did radio frequency transmission for internet service.
Okay. So do you know a little bit about how it's used for ham radio and like privacy tones and, yeah, okay. So I'd need to bring you up to speed.
I have a general license.
Oh, you have a ham license?
Yep.
Oh shit, I didn't know that. Okay, great. Congratulations, you're the next backup.
You're the volunteer.
Because these are basically business band radios, and they work just like ham radios, except they're on a different frequency.
Okay.
So they use PL tones. They use. We're going to use a repeater. It'll probably be crossband.
Okay.
You have a better license than I do, actually. I haven't done the general test yet.
Oh.
So I tried, But I did it dead cold after doing the technician test, and I failed by a few questions.
Oh.
After not studying at all,
Oh,
and not
that
even knowing
sucks.
what questions. But that means I can pass it easy if I actually study. Just haven't done it yet. Wolfie and I are probably going to do that. Actually, we're probably going to do that in March. So, great. I didn't know you were a ham. That makes 3, and that makes one of the 3 isn't a high-level staff, and that's good. On the same subject as the documents in Google Docs, I'm abandoning the calendar for to-do lists. That's really not a great format for a lot of people. You're welcome to still use a calendar if you want. There's a calendar, again, just with those same leads. There should be a calendar shared with you as well that you can track stuff on that was shared with you the same time that the document folder and the instruction document was. But that's your option to use it, and just keep your to-do list in a literal to-do list in your department folder, and that's fine. And create a to-do list and start writing stuff down as you think of it, and I'll try to add stuff to that to-do list as I think of it. And hopefully we can start making copies of that to-do list and reuse it year over year so we don't forget things that could have been done. It seems like every year we forget, like, oh, I could have done that months ago, and now I'm scrambling to get it done, and I should have remembered to do that 5 months ago when it would have been easy. And that happens every year. It's just because we don't write stuff down. And I need to fix that. As Pony was already talking about earlier, big increases in volunteer and staff rewards. And what is it? You've already heard people talking about how it's...
I was talking to other conventions, people who could attend and volunteer, and the benefits they get, and the ones we offer are just like far exceeded. It's unheard of what you're offering.
Okay.
Food.
For the staff and volunteers.
Well, and you know, a lot of cons will take their required food budget and they'll try to redirect it into stuff that attendees pay for so that they can recoup some of that money. And instead of doing that, I just raised the badge price to pay for it, and we're going to give it to volunteers because I'd rather support volunteers and staff, because without them the con dies. So, you know, that's more important than anything, as far as I'm concerned. And if we end up with extra budget that we don't know what to do with, then we'll figure it out from there. I know what we're probably going to do with the staff, this little staff feed area, is probably put too much food there, more than we really need. And the catering will be instructed to, at shortly before the time when it becomes unsafe to serve the food, at the last like little bit of the serving window, say that they put out food that's safe to keep there for 2 hours. At the 1.5 hour mark, they'll stop restricting that room to just staff and just start letting anybody in. Maybe even go as far as to walk out in the con space and yell out free food, and at which point they should probably grab a shield, because there will probably be many, many, many people coming. By the way, Bunny, did you know that Kaliki is a ham?
No.
He is. He's got a better license than we do.
Shit.
So he just became our extra radio person.
Sweet. You're extra?
Well, no, he's general. But
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't bother with that.
I mean additional radio
Okay.
person. So someone that isn't you or me.
Let's not talk about radio.
Oh, right, we don't have radios to use to talk about radio on the radio. Okay, back on track, sorry. So volunteer rewards, food is probably going to be over what we need. So like, staff are just going to have free access to it because staff, like I said, they've already crossed that trust barrier. Once the staff have already crossed that trust barrier, we trust you to also have open access to this food and not, sit there and take 5 portions away for someone else, or, and try to be good about just eat as much as you need and try not to waste it either, so that, there's plenty for everybody.
It happens, we all know this.
But, and I think So we came up with a little bit simpler way to do it as well, a little bit simpler way to offer it, and I'll go over that
remember
with
that,
you
right?
too later. But
Oh, and this will be in the thing later. If you want that room comp, your name has to be in the goddamn room.
oh, I forgot that. Yeah,
Like, we
Yes.
can't comp your room if your name ain't on it. So if
Right.
if you sign up as like Fluffy Fox, we might have some problems.
right. So if you are staff, if you're approved as staff and you have committed to 12 hours, then you're going to get the maximum reward, and that last maximum reward is the equivalent of one room night knocked off your hotel bill. But we can't do that unless your legal name is in our reg system, which it better be anyway if you're staff, and your legal name is also on the room either as a primary or a roommate. It doesn't matter. We can find it either way. And then what we'll tell the hotel is, the person in this room, we're going to pay for a night of their room. Person in this room, we're going to pay for a night of their room, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I was able to do that back in 2014, and it worked fine.
What happens
So
if
I know they
someone-
can do it.
What happens if someone has a legal name, but they end up changing it before the con happens?
Like a transgender situation or whatever.
Yeah.
It just needs to match their photo ID.
Oh, okay, all right.
So everything should just match whatever your photo ID says.
All right, sounds good.
So. What's up? I know. You need to fix your name and registration.
Nope.
Or fix your photo ID.
We can do it.
Make America great again.
Oh, let's not get started on that. I'm going to veto that discussion right now. All right, clarification on River and Telegram chat. We've decided we're going to use, River is kind of a chat system that's sort of like the bastard love child of IRC in a forum. That is a system that we're going to use with just leads and seconds so that we can keep all the discussions focused and not have stuff go off on the rails. That is where we're going to where leads, seconds, and execs are going to talk about stuff and make decisions. And it's going to be leads and seconds' responsibilities to disseminate those decisions down to their underlings and make sure they're aware of what's going on. It's also their responsibility to collect input from their underlings and feed it upward into that system and represent their lower staff that's underneath them. The Telegram chat, I've decided, will be open to anybody who's been accepted as staff, because the whole point of the Telegram chat is to just be a water cooler is the best way of describing it. It's just a place for people to go on and chat and discuss and just enjoy each other's company and build camaraderie and all that good stuff. So, but that means that in the Telegram chat, no official decisions get made. If something comes up that is worth remembering, write it down and get it in your lead's hands. Or if you are a lead, write it down in your to-do list or your things that would be nice to-do list or something like that.
I think
Every lead should really have a to-do list and a things that would be cool or good ideas list.
For example, in the Telegram chat, I think we were talking about the whole +1 to the fursuit lounge.
Right. That ended
at
up
some
being a
point.
pretty lengthy discussion.
Right.
But
And by no means should anybody go from that to talking about that in public or on Twitter or to anybody as far as any official capacity. So if it's not even Tycho, if it's just somebody's like, oh, we're doing this, we should do this. That does, one, they shouldn't be saying that, but two, don't treat anything in that chat as if it's gospel.
yeah, even if I say it, even if I'm the one who says it in that chat, that doesn't mean it's an official decision. It means I'm actively discussing the topic with people, and discussion is fine, decisions are not in that chat. So, and then there's a to-do list on the other side, which is just a lot of stuff that I still need to do or need to delegate. Some of it I can't delegate, but some of it I can. I'm going to be going to Foursquared and Furry Fiesta over the next couple of months, and I know that Fenrir is going to be going to FWA, and he's willing to deliver wearable ad badges to FWA. So we need to make another quantity of those wearable badges, those wearable ads.
Well, this time the power won't have gone out as soon as we started making.
Right.
For 2 days, no power, okay? So everybody that showed up to do the badges just kind of sat there waiting for the power to come on, then had to worry about the network flooding. That won't happen again.
Wow,
Yeah, I
don't.
think-
Now it will.
Yeah, now it will. Now that you've said something.
Cody volunteered. He's up on the hill, way above floodway.
We should have got somebody just doing badges in the water. Just.
There really is no reason we couldn't just move now that we know what the process is, there is no reason we couldn't, like, move the equipment to your house temporarily and do a party there instead if you want to. But I'm not gonna volunteer your place for that. But regardless, the first time we're gonna need them is about a month from now, February 20th. That's when I'm gonna be going to First Squared. First Squared is a small con in Wisconsin that I'm gonna try out mostly because I met the organizers of that con at the Con Runners Con, and they're really fun and creative people that I'm just looking forward to seeing what they do and how they do things differently. So I'm gonna go check that out.
I was curious if everybody else is going there because I've never heard of them before.
But it's a smaller con. I think they're in the high hundreds or maybe the low 1,000s in attendance. I forget what they are, but it's nowhere the size of a lot of the big cons. And that's fine. Small cons are fun too. I have a pretty good idea of how I want to lay out the rest of the con space and what can go where. I may just draw up a proposal and have everybody review it and see if anybody has objections, and we can just juggle stuff from there. But what I really need to do is get together the people who are responsible for the rooms that haven't been chosen yet in the layout. I should get those people together for a meeting and a discussion, and maybe I can do that this weekend. I think everybody that would be relevant might be available. But I'd like to have somebody from the hotel available too. Probably better if I have you, because you're more experienced with what we might break by laying stuff out a certain way.
This weekend I'm here, next week I'm gone.
Okay.
Rumors here this weekend.
And you're here this weekend as well? Okay. Maybe I'll try and get people together this weekend then, because the sooner we get it done, the better. Then we have a layout and it's done, and then you guys can start working on signage.
Sunday I gotta drive
Okay.
afternoon.
Okay. Well, I don't think it's too big a deal. Wolfie, we need to work on developing a badge making system.
We've worked on a lot of things.
Yep. We can start working on that this weekend. I think I'm healthy enough at this point that I'm not going to get you sick.
So there was no actual machine or anything involved with this badge system? It was just-
The only thing that was special was the little thermal printers that can print labels one at a time. They just print one at a time mailing
Well,
labels
those
off a roll.
are used for,
Yeah,
mailing
those are-
labels. It's like a P-touch system where
Yep.
it prints it from the inside rather than the outside. Yeah, oh god,
Yep.
that should be no problem.
Those are fairly cheap. I think those printers are, what, a couple $100 a pop or something like that?
I can check it out, yeah.
But
Well, they're made for companies that do a lot of shipping too, mailing labels,
Right.
barcode labels and shit.
Easy.
yeah, and the other benefit is that a lot of them are all kind of similar, so you can get like one or two drivers and run like 20 or 30 different models of printer. So if you suddenly need one or two more in the middle of the con, this is the benefit that Dax told me, is that if you suddenly need one or two more in the middle of the con, you can probably run to Office Depot and buy another one or two without having to wait for any mail ordered anything, and you don't need special supplies, and you don't need anything that's hard to get or that you need to make sure you stock up on enough of. That's one of the big benefits of it. And they're a hell of a lot smaller than laser printers, so they'll fit in the reg area a lot easier too.
They come in glossy plastic without having to put through a laminator.
Right. And that's the best benefit, is nothing has to go through a laminator. So, which the last badge printing idea didn't have to go through a laminator either, but it needs a much bulkier printer and a much significantly slower printer as well.
And a testy printer.
It's not that testy. The color laser printer that's in our office, that's what it would be using. That's what it would have been using.
I was talking about the other ones.
So, yeah, I'm throwing those away. Fuck those printers. They need to. We can have an office space party on those printers.
They did their job.
They did. They did do their job, and they're nice and small and compact. And
Very small, cheap printer, so you can actually just say, hey, anybody need a really little laser printer that won't clog up the inkjet things?
in reality, what we'll probably do is hang on to those printers and just have them available in departments for, like, the volunteer desk needs to run off some prints. Then they just have a printer at their department that they can just use. That's going to be the real fate of those printers. They're good light duty printers. They just can't run. They can't run all day long. They'll fry themselves.
That's right, we had them all set up so they'd be down for 15 minutes, and then it's just like,
And that was just to keep them from frying themselves.
And then we had to stop and open them all up and blow fins on them.
Yeah, just kidding. I know. Don't remind me.
hey, like I said, for what they were, man, they got given a real acid test.
I need to finish the organizational chart. I already mentioned that earlier, but I can get that done soon, I hope. I might even do it tonight when I get home. I've moved a lot of people's emails from biggestlittleFurCon.org to goblfc.org, but I need to try and get the rest of those moved. I don't know if you want to try and spearhead that, or if I can just, if you want me to do it. What's that?
I just need to get in touch with everybody.
Okay. And you're going to need the org chart to know who. So really, to get that, you need the org chart that says who is running each department. So
Yeah, that.
I'll prioritize that.
Tonight. See that in the morning, right?
I already got, Toke is back on, or sorry, Pretzels is back on watching social media. So last I heard, Psystorm still offered as well, so I need to get a hold of him and get him to keep an eye on that too. But I'm just looking for, they'll probably be okay as social media, but they're also doing other stuff. So maybe at some point in the future, I need to start thinking about anybody. Was anybody here like really a huge Twitter fiend? I think you kind of are.
Yeah, kind of.
And somebody who's creative and witty, which also is kind of you to a degree.
Being voluntold.
So,
He usually has like 8 accounts.
but what I have found from looking at other cons' Twitter feeds is the more creative the individual is, the better, and the sillier they are and the goofier they are, the better. Yeah. Yeah, they're doing really good. And Furry Fiestas is really good too. But again, they're both run by people who are just basically a hair's breadth away from insane. And we should talk. Reds, we need to get the event application form up and running. Just let me know when you've got that form made, and then we need to bring that section of the website back to life and put that link in it.
Is it gonna be like a Google form or?
Yeah, it's just going to be a Google form. So that's the easiest way to do it.
Who's the best one?
So these last three on the to-do list, Grayson, are all things you probably could potentially work on,
Yes.
that you could potentially work on right now.
Yeah, talking with Cairo about giving the on show, I'm gonna just make the link live, give them the password to
Right.
look at it.
Just starting to put sections back into the website that haven't been brought back to life and prettied up yet. That's the main thing. I have the DJ application link too, so we can get that in the dance section as well. I just need to send it to you. Or it's on the BLFC Dances Twitter, has already posted it, if you want to just get the link from there yourself. If I forget to get it to you, that's another place you can grab the link from. The Twitter handle is BLFC Dances. And that's being controlled by the dance lead. And then I think that's it. Questions? Answers?
Grayson, do we have a Git hub or just a Git repository for anything regarding the registration system yet? Okay.
I'm starting to look into that too, into getting a Git server running so that we can just run a server for the repository ourselves.
Can we have it up and running?
Sure.
You have one?
But it might be going soon.
Huh?
It might be going like
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
I'll let you know when.
I want to start now.
I already explained what
Okay.
happened.
Okay.
So,
Welcome. Welcome. We're about to adjourn.
A bunch of people.
holy cow.
There's chairs actually in that room there. You can just go and roll it.
Jesus.
Tycho. What's been done about fursuit tags so far?
What's been done about what?
Fursuit tags, what have we been?
Right now, I have an idea for a possible way to laser cut a piece of plastic in such a way that it will hold a coin cell battery and an LED with no soldering. Just jam them in and press fit them into place. So very easy to build.
Something we can make 2,000 of in a very
Potentially.
short period of time?
Well, the laser cutter can bang them out pretty fast, yeah. And volunteers can assemble them fast because it takes 10 seconds to show somebody how to assemble one. So volunteers can sit there and just pile right through them at con. Like the shirt folding I mentioned earlier, that might be one of those kind of things that'll be faster to do at con than it will to try and do a test.
Assemble, yeah, either at con or even at the house and just put a
But
piece of paper on one side just so it doesn't turn on.
It's that is a very nebulous idea right now. I've gotten a hold of the people at the generator, and I missed out on the ability to go there and check out the laser cutter yet, and to get trained on it. I might be able to. My first opportunity for that might be this weekend. So you reminded me I should email the generator and see if I can get in this weekend. I do have an example. I do have one example test cut already designed that I can take there with me and try out.
Consider some other thing too
But
that would be easier to do. Just
I
that would be easier to do
I
in
would
case
still.
this didn't work out.
Yeah, I'm still very open to other ideas for fursuit tags because I'm not sure that's going to work.
Still open to possibly not doing it as well.
Yeah, and if we just can't think, and if we can't think of something good to do for fursuit tags, instead of trying to do something that's really half-assed or really, instead of trying to do something for fursuit tags that's really half-assed or really basic, I'd rather just not do them at all. So, if it's at the point where we're just like printing out a thing and laminating and sticking a clip on it, I'd rather just not do it. Just let it go.
Last year got a little overwhelming with the scarf.
Last year got a bit overwhelming with all the sewing and that was a solid month of work across like 4 or 5
Pretty
people.
awesome, but we couldn't really do collars again.
That was also like a solid month of work across 4 or 5 people. And it's too much. You can't just hand make them anymore. It takes too long. And the whole thing with fursuit tags, though, is people expect them to have serial numbers on them. And it's really hard to get hundreds or thousands of a thing
Well, is there something we can
that
find
have
that's
unique
made
numbers
in
on them?
China that's easy to get, that we can that's attractive and unique, a design, something we can get that.
Make them all say number one fursuiter.
You know, I kind of like that idea, to be honest.
When we see the Highlands.
Vancouver, when I went there, their fursuit tag for that year was just it was a little like squeeze ball on a chain, and it just said Vancouver on it. It didn't have numbers at all.
Not even something that you could wear or attach to your.
It was because it was on a chain. It was attachable, so they snuck them onto for the tradition of sneaking them onto fursuiters where they wouldn't notice them having them. They were still able to do that, but
Sort of like ear tags.
Well, I know at FC a couple years back, they had the really nice bright neon, like laser cut image. And that has to be easy to get a multitude of, and numbers, if numbers really help us cut down on time, that's the goal.
Right, and that's the standard choice for a lot of cons, is just the laser cut, and those can be run off on a laser cutter, and they can all be individually numbered, and it works. I just feel like it's aping the same idea from lots of other cons that have already done it. It
That's
just,
fair.
it feels like it's not doing anything with the format and not making it interesting. It's just,
I like the ear tag idea, actually, because it's like, wild animals,
right, that was how it originated.
Yeah, and that's definitely what a lot of conventions do, but if that's the alternative versus skipping it,
To be honest, I don't think I've seen a convention do the actual like livestock tags for a while now. It's been some time now since I've seen a convention actually do the real livestock tags. But
Have something like that fit in with our theme.
right, and that's the other thing, is we really wanted to try and fit in the theme too of this year, which is the giant. Maybe we just need to make giant fursuit tags.
Sandwich boards out of cardboard.
Yeah, just here's your fursuit tag. It's a giant sandwich board that you wear.
Well, it's gonna,
They'll be the biggest little fursuit tags.
I think you were even saying in the middle of making those scarves last year, you were just like, this is going to be really hard to backpedal any further than like a handmade scarf at this point. We kind of did an embroidered, cut handmade scarf, and that.
Yeah, that was a bit rough too. Like the bar has been set so high now.
as long as you do something creative, people will admire it. And it's for 1 year. If it doesn't work out, that's fine. But I think putting forth that effort is worth more than doing something nicer than a handmade scarf.
Well, if anybody's got ideas, I'm all ears for something that can be rapidly a lot of made.
I kind of like the concept of the oversized ear tag, because kind of, I know Jurassic Park has definitely been done in the past 2 years, but you have these giant monsters, tag and identify. I don't know, it's cute.
Tag and identify, okay. That'll work.
Something that just says, this,
You've been
you are one of the monsters.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
That would work. Can I tag males?
Yeah.
Well, the other thing is what is it? It's the pearl or whatever, the big red pearl kind of thing of
Right.
like doing like a round badge. Even if we can get somebody who can just like make up a ton of these in red plexiglass.
yeah, we might build. There's some ideas there.
Yeah,
Just
like
cut a
red
foam,
plexiglass with a
cut a
laser
foam red ball in
engraving on it.
half, and
It
just
gives
a
what else to
little
do.
clippy on the back.
Oh, that might work too. Like just a foam squish ball. Cut it,
It's
just
nothing-
slice it in half, and
It's nothing grand, but it is something that's particular to us.
right, and it's unique to this. It actually references this year's theme too.
Well, it'll just turn anybody who's in a fursuit into a monster. So.
Right.
You can get those like stress balls.
Am I pressing you?
Well, sure.
That's heavy. That's a little heavy, though.
Yeah, foam sponge balls are pretty easy to get.
I mean, these things got
as long as you're getting enough of them,
big.
they're pretty easy to get. It's an idea.
No way to number them, but who cares?
Yeah. Number it on the flat side.
Hats. I know,
One
like,
of those
hats
rubber
are-
stamp things.
Yeah, sequential stamp.
A sequential, that's it, a sequential stamp.
What were you saying?
What about like caps or something, like baseball caps? Because you can put anything on them, they're very cheap, and like, I understand they're not as unique, but if you're also worried about that, you can sink more energy into different things.
Right.
That's like,
It's not a bad idea. Unfortunately, the fursuit tags have to be less than $2 a piece, or they're just going to blow through too much budget.
And they would definitely have to fit a number of different fursuits in an individual way.
I think the tags are probably the best decision. Just using them, getting a little clip of it.
Yeah, just some kind of like specimen tag or something like that. Or if we can find a way to make the red, like that red half orb work, I actually like that better, but I don't know how we attach it. If you can find a way to attach half of a sponge ball about this big, attach the flat side of it to the surface of a person somehow, then we're set.
Have we thought at all about, what I would recommend?
Or to the surface of a fursuit.
Um,
Velcro.
well.
Put Velcro on it.
Velcro might mess up the, texture of someone's suit. You can get pretty inexpensively the hair clips, they're just like a flat bottom style.
Okay.
You can just like,
Oh,
yeah, it has a minor clamp, I'm sorry, I can't words right now, but you can clip it to their fur.
Yeah.
And you can get like a gray coaster, red foam ball, hot glue, done.
Mm-hmm.
And you vacuum seal them.
Oh,
likes
so
that.
they pack better?
Yes.
So they're sponge balls?
Yes.
Like we did that for the scarves. I put them in big ass trash bags and took the vacuum to them to suck them flat because the scarves were made of fleece and they were poofy. So
He did it like a mad scientist. He was very proud of him.
it actually worked really. It did work really well. That turned 12 boxes into 6. So I'm not gonna
6 heavy boxes.
6 very heavy boxes.
I'll tell you, it worked. It's just, if we had to do it fast, it's like, okay, ready? Okay, it's about down, and it's twist. Let it inflate.
But yeah, and we did that for the little foam stars too, as I recall.
You want to do that? Sorry.
Anyway, I'm done with the agenda. I've been done with the agenda. We're just talking.
Just table flip.
So,
Done.
Anna, I like your idea for fursuit tags. I think that might work, and that's going to be a whole lot easier than the laser cutter. Though I should still go to the generator and get trained up on their laser cutter so that we have it available to us for other stuff.
Are you going to cut to somebody crying, cutting these foam balls in half?
It's not too hard to rig up a hot wire cutter that you can just push the balls right through a hot wire cutter. It's not hard to make a hot wire cutter.
Hot wire guillotine.
I have a system that's set up to use a lot of things.
No, it's a YouTube channel now.
There could be a respirator and a
Red
lot
hot,
of
red hot
ventilation.
guillotine.
Red hot guillotine.
At least it ain't clothes.
Okay.
Close?
Yeah, at least it ain't clothes anymore.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, putting a bunny can go.
It's time.
To answer your question.
So have you all signed up to volunteer?
Yes.
Actually, I just did.
Okay, good.
I'm not sure I did.
You're going to help no matter if you hit the thing or not.
That's it.
So
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm involved anyway.
Are there any questions?
oh my God! I
All right.
barked at you
That's
for
it.
years.
Thanks, everybody. Well, that's it for the stream anyway. I'm still around for